Liberals realized waving Mexican flags was a bad look, so they started passing out American flags, saying, wave these flags instead. It's better optics. And the crowd said thanks and took the American flags and burned them. CNN says we should just raise the white flag and let Mexico have California back.
Remember that California was part of Mexico. All of the Southwest is Mexico. So the roots are really deep in that region. And what they're saying is, no, not in our community.
We won the Mexican-American War. Mexico signed a treaty. LA is not an Indian reservation. I'm sorry, it's a part of the United States. Notice how the rest of the media isn't even interviewing the rioters. It's almost like they don't ask questions because they know they're not going to like the answers. Here's why.
We don't agree with the term illegal. We're undocumented. We've been here for thousands of years before you guys showed up, screw up everything. We're anti-capitalist. We think socialism does work, real socialism.
Is there a country we can look to kind of model the socialism idea?
The only model would be Soviet Union the first 4 years.
That right there says it all. So guess what side the Democrats are on?
Let me be clear. Congressional Democrats stand in full solidarity with the residents of Los Angeles, with our immigrant sisters and brothers, and with the peaceful protesters who dare to speak out and who will support every effort to oppose this president's abuse of power.
Democrats are telling cops to stand down and rioters to stand up. LA Mayor Karen Bass says the riots will stop once the ICE raids stop.
I would say stop the raids. Stop the raids, period. I would say give the power back to our governor, and if we need the National Guard, we can do it in the normal circumstances, which is the request is made local and the governor decides or not to grant that to our city.
We're getting extorted by the LA mayor. It's like a hostage crisis, but she's threatening to burn her own city down. Trump, not a guy who likes being extorted.
Mr. President, these protests obviously started in reaction to these large-scale ICE operations in Los Angeles. Should people expect to see similar operations in the rest of the country?
No.
And will similar protests see a similar response?
As you know, we're moving murderers out of our country that were put here by Biden or the auto pen. The auto pen really did it. We're not going to let them stay. And this is the first, perhaps, of many, or perhaps, if we didn't attack this one very strongly, you'd have them all over the country. But I can inform the rest of the country that when they do it, if they do it, they're going to be met with equal or greater force than we met right here.
Democrats are covering up the riots like Biden's brain.
It's no different than when a team wins a national championship and people get overexcited and they overturn vehicles and light them on fire. Local law enforcement is prepared to handle those types of situations. Marines and National Guardsmen are not.
Yeah, Dodgers fans went a little nuts when they beat the Yankees, but this is a 5-day riot. Maxine Waters, no relation, says, what violence? I don't see any violence.
Even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot, nobody was killed. Get it in your head. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know.
I didn't see violence is the new I didn't see Biden decline. The whole country sees violence on their TVs, on their phones. The riot started on Friday, and today is Tuesday. LA County police say you should believe your own eyes.
Every single police officer and deputy sheriff right now wants this to end. Unfortunately, the governor of California is 100% adding fuel to the flames. His rhetoric is one thing. What he says is one thing. What he does is another. He is absolutely part of the problem that we're seeing here. And so there is a lack of cooperation with the state of California and local officials.
Gavin's giving folks room to riot just like tampon. Same thing happened in the summer of love. Democrat governors let violence fester until finally Trump restored order. Trump's not waiting around this time. He says if it wasn't for him, LA would be up in smoke.
Called him up to tell him, got to do a better job. He's doing a bad job, causing a lot of death and a lot of potential death. If we didn't send out the National Guard, and last time we gave them a little additional help, you would have, Los Angeles would be burning right now. The radical left, it's usually radical left, and it's usually governors that are Democrat, and they don't want to call them in. They don't want to save lives. They don't want to save property. They don't want to call them in. I don't know what it is.
Newsom responded, and he said there wasn't a phone call. He said Trump never called him, not even a voicemail, he said. But John Roberts got Trump's call logs, and it shows Trump called him late Friday night, and they talked for 16 minutes. Why would Newsom lie and claim Trump never called him? Why would he do that? Gavin could have called up the Guard Friday night and could have stopped the violence and saved millions of dollars in damages. But we're now on our 5th day of mayhem, and Newsom's suing Trump to send the Guard home. And California congressmen, they're telling the National Guard to disobey orders.
The legal provision Donald Trump is relying on to deploy the National Guard under 10 U.S.C. Section 12406, he is violating the law, because that provision very clearly says that the governors of the states have to give the order, and Governor Newsom clearly didn't do that. And this is very important. I ask every National Guard member to read their orders, read the law, and then decide for themselves if they're following an unlawful order.
Ted Lieu's a lawyer, and he doesn't know what the law is. Presidents have mobilized the Guard and overruled governors before. Washington did it for the Whiskey Rebellion. Grant sent federal forces to South Carolina to stop the Klan from preying on blacks. Eisenhower used the 101st Airborne in Little Rock when the Democrat governor there was fighting desegregation. And Kennedy put down segregationist rallies in Mississippi. Trump's just wielding the power that the country gave him in a landslide. He swept the battlegrounds, won the popular vote, and moved almost every county in the country to the right, including L.A. County. And he's not the one who mandated vaccines and censored you and prosecuted his rivals and disobeyed the courts. That was AutoPen. The Democrats can't control the narrative anymore. Trump's not a dictator, and these riots are violent. They said no one's above the law. Remember that? But they let illegals break into the country and then hide them in their cities and then attack ICE when they move in to do their job. These riots are getting no cultural traction. None. No one's posting Mexican flags on Instagram. No one's taking a knee with a sombrero. Companies aren't being blackmailed into donating millions to an open borders charity. It's not happening like BLM, remember? These LA riots make January 6th look like a picnic. And Karen and Gavin couldn't stop fires, clean up the homeless, fight crime, or shut down the virus. What makes you think they'd shut down this riot? Is the real reason they're fighting ICE this hard because the more migrants they deport from California, the less congressional seats the state gets? Remember, the census counts people, not citizens. So they're burning down their own city to maintain political power. If they're capable of that, they're capable of anything.
But look, let me explain something, though, instead of just repeating what everybody else says, that this is just so chaotic, which it is. The reason this is being ratcheted up is because Los Angeles and subsequently California is on the edge of bankruptcy. There's a sense of urgency here because they need to figure out ways to get money in. So they're going to ratchet this up. They're going to increase the conversation about how Trump did this. They're going to have chaos. They're going to have more destruction that's caused by, of course, Trump, even though it's their own soldiers. It's Marxism and it's in a little pill. And the idea is to get money from either the federal government, which they know that they won't get, or all of their donors or other countries, and to really inflame this chaos. So this is a riot, okay? It started on Friday afternoon, not Saturday. Businesses were broken into, cars were exploding. And most importantly, I mean, what this did to the environment is horrible.
Oh, I know, that is horrible. So true. That is so true. I hope Greta Thunberg comes soon and fights in defense of the, I don't know, the jackrabbits.
Optics. The governor is more concerned with optics than solving the actual problem. Rioter. The rioter threw a brick at the police car. Solidarity. The workers showed solidarity by walking out together. Raid. The police launched a raid on the illegal gambling den. Extort. The gang tried to extort money from local businesses. Advocate. She advocates for better healthcare policies. Adding fuel to the flames. His reckless comments were just adding fuel to the flames. Fester. The problem continued to fester as no one addressed it. Wield. The president wields enormous influence over the media. Ratchet up. Tensions between the two countries continue to ratchet up. Inflame. His speech only served to inflame the crowd.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.